Hi there, this is Justin. How are you?
Hi, it's Dana White. Good.
Dana, how you doing, buddy? Good to talk to you, my man.
You too.
Good, brother. Hey, we chatted a little ways back before UFC 115 and UFC 118 is upon us this weekend. I think it's coming out of Boston, Massachusetts, if I'm correct.
Correct.
All right, we got a rematch between B.J. Penn and Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar took the lightweight title from B.J. Penn, and it was a close match, but one that Frankie Edgar definitively won. And now B.J.'s going to get a chance for his revenge. How do you think it's going to go?
Now, here's the thing. There was a lot of controversy over that thing. A lot of people were saying, oh, it was a fluke. B.J. would have won. Then B.J. said, oh, I was sick during that fight. And there's one thing that I hate is not having a definitive answer, and neither does Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar, feels he won that fight and wants the people to respect him as the champion. So he says, let's do it again and find out was this a fluke or am I the man? So I think it's going to be a fun fight. I think BJ has a lot to prove, and so does Frankie. So those are the kind of fights that I really like. You don't have to have a bunch of trash talking. You got to have two of the best fighters in the world in their weight class wanting that belt worse than anything.
Now, I know they are the headlining fight, but the fight everyone's talking about, obviously, is finally the boxing versus MMA argument comes to a head in the cage with Randy the Natural Couture, 5-time UFC champion, versus James Toney. And this has been one that has just been riddled with smack talk, 99% of which has been on Tony's side. Honestly, do you think Tony is fully prepared for what a veteran and a warrior like Randy Couture is going to bring to the cage against him? Is he ready for all aspects of the game?
I don't know. Here's the thing. He's not ready for all aspects of the game. Definitely not. One thing he has done, he's taken this more serious than any fight he's had in the past, I don't know how many years. He's gotten himself in great shape. We'll say he's dabbled in mixed martial arts. But here's the reality. When you break things down on paper, Couture should go in. Couture has more tools to win. But when you put two guys, in a cage, in the ring, whatever it is, and they're allowed to go at it, anything can happen. Can James Toney knock out Randy Couture? Absolutely he can.
With the 4-ounce gloves? Absolutely he can.
Yep.
So, no, this is going to be a really, really interesting fight. And it was funny because I've heard you give your predictions. You've pretty much said Randy's going to do what Randy does, go for his double leg, pretty much put him up against the cage and pound him out. But James does have that ability. If he throws one of those uppercuts on the way in and he puts one right on the button with Randy, it could be good night.
No doubt about it. And Randy Couture's been rocked in his last couple of fights, too. And Randy just had his 47th birthday. So
yeah, he is getting up there, but he's a freak. I mean, you've had such a long storied history with Randy. Yep. At the age of 47, he's in better shape than most people that are 27.
He's in better shape than 15-year-olds. I mean, this guy's incredible. Think about this. 47 years old. Actually, James Toney has the age advantage, too. James Toney's 42.
Yeah, really. That's odd to think. And it's funny because you see them side by side.
The guy is an absolute freak of nature.
He is, and it's going to be an interesting fight, and one that, admittedly, I think if James Toney makes it out of the first round, he should chalk that up as a moral victory. I really think if James Toney goes ahead and holds his own for a little bit, that's going to be an interesting fight. Now, what I really want to know if B.J. Penn is victorious over Frankie Edgar, which a lot of people think will be the case. You have another lightweight card on there against top contenders, Kenny Florian and Gray Maynard. Will this be a number one contender fight?
Yeah, the winner of this fight should definitely get the next title shot. I mean, I got to go on a fight-by-fight basis. For instance, Gray Maynard, it looked like was in line for the title. I gave the title shot to Frankie Edgar, and he won the title. So, you never know. But one thing I did do with this card is I built a great card around that fight. Because that fight could go 30 seconds either way, Toney or Couture. But to start the card, we got Marcus Davis and Nate Diaz, Gray Maynard and Kenny Florian, Paula Harris versus Nate Marquardt, Toney and Couture, and B.J. Penn versus Frankie Edgar.
That's fantastic. Now, I want to ask also, there's a couple of fighters moving away from UFC 118. If I can just throw a name, give me an idea if you know who they might be fighting next. These are a lot of fighters my friends and listeners are interested in. We want to know who they might be combating next if you and Joe Silva have even made the decision. Chris Lieben, first person comes to mind.
Good question. You know what? It's unbelievable how this kid has skyrocketed back, from adversity and was down and out. And now he's, one of the biggest. Everybody wants to know when Chris Lieben's fighting next. Lieben fought back-to-back. two tough fights. You know, obviously the Akiyama-Chris Lieben fight is one of the best fights I've ever seen.
Insane.
So Lieben's taking some time off right now. He'll probably be back the first of the year.
Any idea about possible opponents? Any names you might?
No idea.
Okay, let me give you another one. I'll give you three, one including Lieben. Rich Franklin. Any idea when he's going to come back? Who he's going to fight?
Rich Franklin's arm is not healing as well as we had hoped, so it's going to be a little bit longer for him.
Okay, and finally, with Anderson Silva just finishing up the war that he had with Chael Sonnen, ribs are injured from 117. He's going to take a little time off. That kind of puts former number one contender Vitor Belfort kind of lost in the lurch. Will he fight this year, and who will he possibly fight?
Belfort?
Yeah.
Yeah, Belfort will fight this year, and we're working on it right now.
Now, I want to ask you, I want to move away for a second because in UFC 119, amazing heavyweight card there. You've got, why don't you tell people what the main event's going to be?
You broke up on me. What did you say?
I'm saying UFC 119 after 118.
Right.
All right. Well, I believe we have Brock Lesnar, Cain Velasquez.
Yeah, that's right. In Anaheim. Now, I want to ask heavyweights for a second. The heavyweights have been as incredible as they've ever been, all right? And there's one guy that comes to mind that it seems to have been forgotten from years past that did kind of pretty much make it all the way with Brock Lesnar. Whatever happened to Heath Herring? Yeah, Heath Herring, you know what? It was like Brock Lesnar destroyed him, man. After that Brock Lesnar fight, he was never the same.
Will we see Heath Herring fight again in the UFC?
Probably not.
Wow. Now another heavyweight from formerly with the UFC, no longer, and now trying to build his way back in. I would like to ask you about, have you been following any of Tim Sylvia since he's been kind of on the outs and working his way back up, trying to rebuild his career? He obviously poorly made a decision to go with another organization. That did not pan out. Would the UFC ever welcome back Tim the Maniac Silva if he put on enough fights?
Tim would have to win some key fights to work his way back into the UFC. Obviously, beating Paul Blantello isn't it, you know?
Yeah.
And our heavyweight division is so stacked and so good right now.
Oh, it's incredible.
So, I don't know. We'll have to see what the future holds.
Very interesting. And then one final question. What's the possibility? Couture Tony, all right, versus the winner of Krokop Mir. I mean, we got Krokop fighting Frank Mir. Krokop, a last-minute replacement.
This was a special fight. Randy Couture moved back up to heavyweight to fight Tony. Tony originally said this fight would be light heavyweight, and then he wanted to stay at heavyweight.
So you believe Couture is going to stay at 205?
Is a light heavyweight fighter.
Okay, so he's going to stay at 205. If Couture does beat Tony, as everybody expects, next fight for contendership, or will next fight be for the title?
No, it'll be for a contender. That 205-pound division is just so stacked.
So many folks. I mean, you got amazing 205 fights coming up this year. I think we're going to have Rampage taking on Machida. Rashad, I believe, is going to be waiting around for Shogun to get good and healthy. Yep. Let's say Penn, victorious this weekend. Frankie Edgar beats the winner of Kenny Florian, Gray Maynard. Where do you see Penn going? Do you see Penn staying at 155, or do you see him eventually dipping back into 170?
Yeah, I think he's too small for 170 pounds.
You think? Wow. Well, beyond that, I have a couple of people that have asked about one more upcoming card, UFC 120. Now, that's going to be a card that's shown free on Spike TV. You guys always give us one free card a year. All right, and we really appreciate it. And the one we're questioning the card. That the fights are always great. There's never a matter of the card, but it's a matter of the names on it. You've got Carlos Condit taking on Dan the Outlaw Hardy, former number one contender, lost to St. Pierre in a 5-round battle in Jersey. Headlining fight, Bisping Akiyama. For those that might not be behind that card, sell that card to me. Sell UFC 120.
Well, here's the thing that I never do. I never go out and try to, listen, you guys don't like this card, let me sell it to you. If you don't like the card, don't watch it. It's free. But here's the reality. There's a ton of great fights on that card. And one thing that drives me crazy is when people say a card sucks before it happens. You can't say a fight card sucks before it happens. You can't say it sucks until after it happens. And believe me, I'll tell you it sucked before you even say it.
No, and I don't. It's not anybody saying that, man, what's going on with 120? We think it sucks. We think it sucks. I think people are slightly confused with Akiyama coming off of a shocking loss. And before that, his fight with Belcher at 100 that some people thought Alan Belcher won. Akiyama, I'm not sure if he's really quite endeared himself with the fans stateside. And Bisping, as you well know, has always had a tumultuous relationship with fans stateside.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. I think
Akiyama
is one of the best guys in the world at that weight class. And the other thing that he's one of the most exciting fighters in the world. This guy brings it. And, you know, that card is that card, I'm telling you right now, and I'm telling you right here on the radio, I'm going to predict this, and you let all the fans know. Watch, this card's going to end up being a barn burner. And that's the other thing too. The fans always start picking out and nitpicking the cards that end up being in the run for card of the year.
Yeah, it's the cards that seem that a fan would say might be light on names that always put on amazing action. Again, we're talking to UFC President Dana White. Dana White, thank you so much. UFC 118 this weekend on the 28th of August, lightweight championship bout, Frankie Edgar versus BJ Penn, and a heavyweight bout between Randy the Natural Couture and James Toney. I would absolutely love to talk to you again sometime soon, Dana.
We'll do it, brother. Thank you. Thanks for the support.
Dude, thank you, brother.